And so that was probably the closest that I've ever felt. We get death threats all the time. They come, they send stuff to our homes and all that. And yeah, that's just par for the course. I mean, if you are not getting active death threats, you're not really doing much for the country.
You're not shaking things up if people are not knocking on your door.
Sorry, I don't mean to. I mean,
I
it's
know.
just kind of.
I
always laugh when people are like, "Oh my goodness, I'm a politician. I got death threats." I'm like, "Okay, get in line." Like we.
But okay, like we could make jokes about this.
A guy just got sentenced to jail. You can fact check it. Guy just got sentenced to jail for 3 or 4 years because he wanted to come and shoot up a Turning Point USA event.
Wait, how did they know before?
Well, the FBI actually did their job amazingly, and I'm very critical of the FBI. But he posted on social media, he said, "Board in this flight, XYZ, going to go to this student action summit in Tampa, Florida, and shoot them all up."
Oh, he announced it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He was 17 years old when he did it. Yeah.
17.
Obviously, deep city mental problems, but that doesn't mean he wasn't going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he got arrested and.
What's up, everybody? This is Mr. 100K a day, and today, 100K Paralegal Services, we're going to be going over the court documents surrounding Charlie Kirk and the previous case that occurred when a young man by the name of Alejandro Velasquez Gomez had made threats online to come to Tampa, Florida, and shoot up a Turning Point event. That's the case that you just heard Charlie Kirk speak about in the video that I just played. And he talked about this young kid who had, made these threats online on Instagram. So a lot of people are unfamiliar with this case. This case occurred, actually about 3 years prior to Charlie Kirk actually losing his life under similar circumstances where somebody did show up to the event that he was having in Utah and basically, sniped him. This just happened just a few weeks ago. And so ever since Charlie Kirk got murdered, it's been a lot of information that comes out. We'll get a chance to peel the layers back to a lot of the characters surrounding Charlie, the people who were involved in his murder, the people who were involved in the lives of his murderer, or people who've made threats against him previously. So based on his interviews he gave, he was clearly aware of threats that are around him that had been made against him. He seemed to not care. His defense seemed to be trash. There was basically no defense because you see how easy it was to actually execute him. But for the purposes of the video, we're just going to be talking about this character, Alejandro Velasquez Gomez, who was charged and sent to federal prison for making threats to shoot up a Turning Point event in Tampa, Florida. And most people, like I said, are unfamiliar with this particular case. And I thought I'd show you guys the court documents just to highlight exactly what happened. The guy's name is Alejandro Richard Velasquez Gomez. Now, this was a young kid who in 2022 had got online and decided to make some threats. And he went by the Instagram handle of Latino Zoomer Politics. And he made a post. And on that post, he said, "Hi, Latino Zoomer here. July 22nd is the day of retribution, the day I will have revenge against all of humanity, in which all of you will pay for my suffering. SAS will be the turning point of the Latino Zoomer love." Now, of course, Turning Point is the nonprofit that was led by Charlie Kirk. And of course, this kid was making threats online to shoot the place up. An event that they were having in Texas, I believe. I'm sorry, the event was in Florida. So the kid was literally in Texas, but the event would be in Florida. So an FBI agent, subsequently filed this criminal complaint that subsequently led to an indictment of this kid for making threats and for possession of child pornography. So when this kid was arrested on this complaint for making these threats against the Turning Point organization event, his phone was searched and they found child pornography in his phone, which is kind of odd because in the death of Charlie Kirk, a guy who falsely claimed to be the shooter of Charlie Kirk, and this is the most ironic thing on earth, he was also arrested for possession of child pornography. He lied about shooting Charlie Kirk. The FBI searches his phone and they found child pornography in his phone too. And he's charged with it. He didn't get the murder charge because he had nothing to do with the murder. But he got hit with child pornography charges. So this is already shaping up to be a bunch of weird stuff along the child. I'm just seeing a lot of that already. Just seems ironic to have two people who are completely unrelated to be connected in this way, and it keeps having this child porn, creepy white guy theme to it, or Mexican. I think this kid who was charged was a Mexican, Latino, and it's just really weird to me. So here's the FBI affidavit. The FBI affidavit, of course, this is the FBI affidavit to get an arrest warrant for Mr. Velasquez Gomez for making threats, and the FBI agent in the affidavit goes in. He says, on July 19, 2022, the FBI San Antonio received information from FBI Phoenix concerning a July 18th, 2022 Instagram post by user Latino Zoomer Politics, display name Latino Zoomer. The post included the following message, and I just read to you what the message said. So it said, based on my training experience, I know the wording in this post is similar to the message left by incel mass shooter Elliot Rodger, who filmed a video from inside his car discussing his day of retribution before he killed 6 people. I previously reviewed the archived video created by Elliot Rodger. In the video, Rodger stated, tomorrow is the day of retribution, the day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you. I also know that incel refers to an involuntary celibate. Celibate ideology. I apologize, guys. This ideology has an extreme hatred towards and endorses violence against women and sexually active people. Rodger is an avatar of the incel movement. I've learned that SAS in Latino Zoomer Politics post stands for Student Action Summit. Open source checks I conducted showed SAS is a conference hosted by a conservative group, Turning Point USA. This conference was held in Tampa, Florida from July 22nd through July 24th, 2022. The review of Latina Zoomer Politics publicly accessible Instagram page identified a post from May 2nd, 2022, indicating the user graduated from Karen Wagner High School. I know that Karen Wagner High School is located in San Antonio, Texas. So the affidavit goes on, and they actually show pictures of this kid and identify him. It's, of course, Alejandro Velasquez. And this is how they were subsequently able to pull up and find out who he was. So they found out who he was, and they were able to get the police in Florida, to arrest him. They were able to get the police in Florida to arrest him, and they also had worked with the airlines, and in the airlines they were able to see that this guy actually did book a flight to Florida for around the time of the event that they were having in Florida, that Turning Point was having in Florida. And, it just coincided with the threats in which he was making. So before he was able to, I guess he decided not to board the flight, and Tampa police, subsequently went and got a arrest warrant for Velasquez, and they charged him with having violated Florida criminal law 836.10, written or electronic threats to kill, do bodily injury, or conduct a mass shooting or act of terrorism. The charge is pending. So he said, I know from my investigation, including communication with Turning Point USA, that Turning Point was aware of Velasquez's Instagram post stating he planned to attend the SAS conference. So, they say the comments in response to his post indicate that people who viewed it contemporaneously took it seriously, stating, for example, I've alerted the FBI. I also know from my investigation that a liaison at American Airlines confirmed that Velasquez had purchased a valid ticket to fly from Austin, Texas to Tampa, Florida on July 22nd. I also learned that Velasquez canceled his plane ticket the night before the flight. So he didn't go to Florida for the event. He had made these threats. He was actually planning to go. Maybe he had cold feet. Who knows? But of course, he was arrested on July 22nd by the Tampa, Florida police, and the FBI San Antonio executed a federal search warrant on his cell phone. So, this, of course, affidavit, this complaint came later, but he was arrested by the local authorities in Florida, and then FBI later came on and charged him federally with, making threats. And they, of course, like it says, they executed a search warrant on his cell phone, and he said he posted the messages, and he intended to post to evoke Elliot Rodger, and was familiar with Elliot Rodger due to extensive online research. So when the FBI even began to review the cell phone July 25th, 2022, he located a screenshot of 3 images posted of an unidentified social media platform stored on his cell phone. The 3 images within the screenshot appeared to be minors nude and displayed in an overtly sexual manner. So, of course, then he requested the FBI's Violent Crimes Against Children to review it and determine if the images met the definitions of unlawful pornography involving minor children. So this was the complaint. He was talking about taking revenge against the attendees of this event. He talked about Elliot Rodger, talked about having a day of retribution, and of course, it led to him getting federal charges against him involving the threats and the child pornography. Of course, after this complaint was done, he was subsequently indicted on these same charges, and eventually he ended up pleading guilty to the threats charge. Now, I don't know why the government decided to let him plead guilty to the threats charge and drop the child pornography charge. Them dropping the child pornography charge will allow him to avoid registering as a sex offender when he comes out. I feel like they should have made both charges stick. I feel like they let him get off. Why would you let a person? I feel like a person who possesses child pornography is much more of a threat than a person who, makes threats online. I feel like the person who makes threats online, that stupidly, they're going to tell on themselves. But a person who possesses child pornography, a lot of things he's going to do, it's going to be in the dark. One of the things I know from being, involved in criminology is that a lot of the sex offenders in the community, a lot of them, when they're arrested, they're first time offenders. A whole lot of them. Yeah, there's a high recidivism rate once they do get caught. But a lot of these guys who get caught doing child porn, these guys are first time offenders with low criminal history. Very low criminal history. And they have probably gone on for years and operated for years with impunity. And people didn't know what they were doing until they get caught. FBI raids their house or something like that. So I think this guy, Alejandro, he really got off for real. And he was subsequently sentenced to 60 months in federal prison. 60 months in federal prison. And I feel like it was a complete joke to even give him just a threats charge. I think it was a complete joke. So, he was just sentenced in 2024, just about a year and some change before Charlie Kirk was actually, killed at a Turning Point event in Utah. Kind of ironic. It's ironic, but this kid Alejandro, he's now 22 years old. He gets out of prison very soon. His release date is next year, less than a year away, April the 27th, 2026. Right now, he is in Forest City, Arkansas, at a medium FCI prison. So he won't have to register as a sex offender when he gets out. He doesn't have to really do anything other than comply with the terms of his supervised release. And I think it's really just a big clown show. All of this is a big clown show. The characters all surrounding this murder, this guy, this organization, Charlie Kirk. This is all a bunch of hypocritical nonsense. People making threats, people actually dying at the hands of a person that they never even spoke out about, while they were here. Charlie Kirk's death is going to be the biggest exposure, the biggest irony for the white community that the United States has seen in a long time. We see the layers get pulled back, to get killed the way he got killed, by who he got killed by, knowing who the kid was dating, a transgender, to get killed by a white guy, to have had previous threats against you by a guy who wanted to do something similar at your organization. For that guy to have gotten called child porn, for the guy who lied about killing Charlie Kirk to have been arrested for child porn and not the murder. This is a bunch of weird trailer trash crap going on. Weird trailer trash. And I'm gonna have a lot of videos about this, guys. There's a lot of irony going on, but that's how Alexandro Richard Vasquez Gomez turned out. He gets out next year. Charlie Kirk is dead, so he can still, I'm sure they'll still have meetings and things like that that'd be a different issue. But no, he gets out next year. Charlie Kirk is dead, and we're gonna see how the rest of this plays out. But I do know this is just the weirdest crap I've ever seen in my life. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. Charlie Kirk, he made a lot of comments about dying, how it should be public, how it should be this. Like, a lot of his own words are being replayed now in interviews. And people are just showing just like the irony and just how he spoke things into existence, and it's just the weirdest thing to me. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Am I off my square, off my rocker on this one? Or are you guys seeing the pattern? Are you guys seeing even the correlation between Charlie Kirk's actions and words and even a rapper's action and words, even though the Charlie Kirk pretended to be a man of God and a Christian? Are y'all seeing the pattern with this sense that you have put up a defense and you're untouchable, or you're good, you don't have to worry about it, your security's good and all that, then end up dying at the hands of somebody who looks just like you? So this is ultimately going to be one of the craziest stories. You can't even make this stuff. Stephen King, Wes Craven couldn't have put this in a movie or a book. So tell me what you guys think. This is Mr. 100K a day. Till next time. If you guys got any comments, questions, make a comment about it. Hit my DMs. Let me know what y'all think. I'll holler. Peace.